How long does it take to learn another language? Well, how long do you want it to take? Do you want it to happen right now? Do you want it to happen in a year? 5 years? 10 years? When do you want it to happen? Get that number in your head. Let it sit there. Let it sit there. Say that number. It's not going to happen at that number of time, of years, of months, of days, of whatever you chose. When it's going to happen is when you stop thinking about that number. So, why do we think of a number, when we want to learn, how quickly we can learn, and why is it not going to happen at that pace? Well, it's not necessarily going to happen at that pace or as soon as you want it to happen because you're focusing on it happening. And I know that might seem like, okay, but I'm supposed to have goals, I'm supposed to be focusing on doing this in this amount of time so I can stay on track, so I can do this. Yes, all of those things are true. But we want to have goals. We want to have a timeline. That's right. What we don't want to be is rigid about exactly when that's going to happen. We need to allow ourselves some amount of flexibility along that timeline to achieve our goals, and we need to focus our energy, our thoughts, our effort on our process of actually learning if we want to get there. So it's fine to set a timeline. It's fine to say, okay, I'm going to go to school, I'm going to go to college, I'm going to do this program that's 4 years or 5 years or 2 years or whatever it is, and it's going to take me that long, you know, but something might happen. You might need to take a break, you might end up going through faster, you might end up doing this or that, and that's okay. Now here is the biggest thing. The biggest thing is that every time when you stop to think about how long is this going to take, how can I make it happen faster, what can I do here, how can I speed this along, that is slowing you down. It's slowing you down because, one, that's time that you could be spending practicing your skills, and two, your mind, your attention is focused on how long it's going to take rather than actually learning. And that is really something that we need to come to terms with, and something that we need to shift away from focusing on the time, because when we actually start practicing, that's when we're learning. And when we're not focusing on that time, that's when we're learning. And when we focus on how long it's going to take, how can I make it faster, that slows us down because we either spend too much time focusing on that, or we get caught up in like quick fix solutions, quick programs, quick things that are, oh, you're going to do this in 3 months, you're going to do this in a week, you're going to do this in a year. And a year, like, you can make some decent progress in a year. So I wouldn't say no to something that's like a committed year of something. But when we do that, we lose our focus, and we might see like shiny object syndrome, right? We see like, ooh, this is here, this can speed you along, this can do this, this can do this, this can do this. Well, the fastest way is actually just to focus on your process and to keep carving along at your path, going through. Like, imagine you have this road that you're creating, your path, your language learning journey, and you have all of these like billboards like you're on the road driving, and they're popping up here and here and here and here, and you're going on a road trip, and you could stop, say, oh, I want to go there, I want to go there, I want to go there, I want to go there. But then what happens? You don't reach your destination as quickly, or you never reach it at all, because you took too many detours that seemed cool, that seemed like they would really work, but you didn't continue along your path. And maybe you will take 1 or 2 detours, and then you come back and you keep going, and it'll slow you down a little bit, but maybe you really want that experience and you do it and then you keep going. Okay, That's where the flexibility with that timeline comes in, because you might have an opportunity like that comes up. Like, you might have an opportunity to go study abroad for a month or 2, 3, or whatever, and it might speed you up a little bit, and then when you come back and you're like, all right, now I need to refocus, now I need to reassess and get back into my routine and all of that, and that takes some time. Or you might have something that comes up that's not related at all to your process that you do, and then you come back in and you have to back up a little bit and then keep going, and that takes up some time, and that's okay. The important thing here is that you stay focused on your language learning journey and think of your goal as something that is motivational, something that is always there for you, and something you're working toward, but not something you need to think about, because it's something that you know is going to happen, and that's the key. It's something that you know with absolute certainty that you are going to get to, and because of that, you don't need to spend time thinking about it. You need to spend your time practicing and working toward it, practicing your whatever, your language you're learning, your Spanish or French or Mandarin or Japanese or anything, and continue practicing, working toward that goal that you know is going to happen and that you don't need to think about because you know it's going to happen. So that is the faster way to learn the language, and the fastest. And the reason it's so fast is because it no longer becomes important when you reach that goal. And of course, you know, maybe you have a timeline, maybe you have a deadline. You're like, you need it for work, you need it for this, you need it for that. And that's okay. You can have like sprints in your journey, you know? So again, going back to that road trip, that road trip and idea there, and you are moving toward that, you know, maybe you go 80 miles an hour for a little bit, and then slow down and be like 50 or 40, or you stop and then you keep going, and that's okay. You can have those sprints to get to where you need to be for your work or for your school or for any of that, and completely okay. But again, even if you have that, like, okay, I'm racing up to this point, you are focused on your task at hand, not that point, because that's how you're going to get there. You're not going to get there by just stopping and looking and staring at it, you know, staring at the map or staring at your phone, your GPS, and saying like, okay, how am I going to get there? How am I going to do this? No. You're going to get there by getting down and practicing, doing the work by reading, writing, listening, and speaking, and practicing your way up there and doing more and more and more practice. And that is the fastest way, and how long it takes begins to not matter so much, because your focus entirely shifts to your practice. And it's really an interesting concept there, because you're so concerned about how long is it going to take, when am I going to do it, and when you have those thoughts, that is when it's going to take the longest. And also when you're not learning, and when you finally do get into the process and start moving toward those goals, they no longer matter as much, because you find so much joy in your practice and in your process, and it becomes a matter of like being there. When you get into that process, that practice, that in many ways becomes the goal, to stay in that process and that practice. So really, you can get there now. You can shift into that mindset of being a language learner, being a speaker of that language now, and getting into that process now. And then you will always be learning, of course. There's always going to be more. You're always going to have to practice. Even once you become fluent, you have to practice, or you will lose the fluency. It doesn't stay if you don't practice. So that is how you get there. And that is how you get to fluency, and that is the fastest way there, because you enter into that road of making your way toward fluency. Your road trip, your process, that is your destination. Because that is, well, it's one of two things. It's either when you die, when you stop learning, when you stop using the language, or it's when you decide to no longer use that language. Maybe you part ways with it and you say, okay, I'm good, I'm done. And then your language learning, your language progress in that language, it declines because you no longer practice. Because when you get to fluency, you have to keep practicing just to maintain it. Otherwise, it starts to disappear. You start to forget. So you can begin your journey to language fluency now. You can get there now. And that is a choice that you make now, in this moment, to go and practice and be part of your language, be in your process, and have your goals, have them there, but know that they are happening. Know that you are getting there. So it is not something you have to think about, because you know with absolute certainty that is happening. That is when you are there. And you have the power to put yourself there, to get yourself there in this moment. Alright? So think about that, and then let me know what you think down below in the comments, and I will check those out and respond to you guys, and I will see you guys back here next Tuesday with another video and blog post. That's in the description, and that's it. Bye guys.